Hi everybody, welcome back to Lackeys Be Trippin'. It's Rob here, and today I'm in Bushnell, Florida. We've got our stunning conclusion here to the Does Camping World Suck saga. This is part 4 of the video series, and if you haven't watched the first 3, you can go back and watch those. I talk a lot about my interactions with Camping World and why I chose to take our 2014 Thor Outlaw to Strafford, Missouri Camping World in order to have a very large repair done. And I did that in part, just as a spoiler here, you don't have to watch the first 3, but I did that because there's so much hate and vitriol towards Camping World. I thought, you know what, I'm going to give them a shot because I've had good experiences at Camping World. I've also had bad ones, but I said I'm going to give them a shot and see how they do on our rig. Now in part 3, I reviewed the work done to the rig, which included a full roof replacement, and I talked about our experience and the overall quality of the work that was done. So you might want to go back and watch that one. But here in part 4, we are going to talk about Camping World as a whole, the whole corporation. We're going to talk about Marcus Lemonis, and I'm also going to discuss a social experiment that I conducted with some of the people that have an absolute hatred for Camping World. Like they've made it part of their life's mission to try and destroy the Camping World company. It's pretty insane. And I want to start with that because what I did was I posted on a page that is called, it's actually titled on Facebook, this is a social page that's titled Camping World, The Awful Experience. And so as you may gather from the title of that Facebook group, what they're doing is these people are just giving their negative experiences on Camping World. That's all, just negative. And so I made a post in there and I said, listen, I've had some interactions with Camping World in the past and they haven't all been bad. My last visit was about a $10,000 ticket and they did a great job. This post actually has 102 reactions, many of which are laughy faces, of course, and it has 152 comments. I've got a pretty good response from that. Now, prior to that, I had posted a picture of the roof being installed in the Camping World shop, and that had 87 comments, most of which, and then a lot of reactions, most of which were angry faces. People were actually angry that I was getting a roof put on at Camping World, and those 87 comments, a lot of those were just negative and really spiteful comments towards me. Now, I want to revisit this last post that I made saying you can't throw a blanket over every Camping World and say that they're all awful, because I have 152 comments and there are some pretty wild ones in there. I've actually screenshotted those and I'm going to share those here. So let's take a look at some of the comments that I've had on social media simply because I took our rig to Camping World. Now I'm going to start with this post in the Camping World Experience page. I told you about the post that I made in the Camping World Awful Experience, and as you may imagine, that had some negative response. But here in the Camping World Experience, I just posted that, hey, I have a new roof going on. Camping World in Strafford, Missouri is doing the work, and so far they've been excellent. My intention here was to get some positive feedback from the community, because this is, after all, not a page that is based around negativity, just based right out of the title. The page is just the Camping World Experience. So I threw this out there, and as you're going to see, I was a little bit taken aback by some of the response, because people in this page were actually more angry than the people in the Camping World Awful Experience page. That took me by surprise a bit. Now, as we scroll down here, what you're going to see is, obviously there's a picture of the rig in the shop in Strafford, and so we've got the new TPO material on there. They sent me this to make sure that I was good with the color before they adhered it to the roof. And it gets right off the bat. How much do they pay you to put this on here? You're the only one out of thousands that would trust Camping World to do anything that they promised. So we just came right out of the gates with this, and then talked to us after the first few hard rains. Well, I actually did come back and talk to this person and say, hey, it's been through a lot of hard rains and it didn't leak, and they didn't respond. I did put here that I was surprised at the negativity because, frankly, I was. And the response to that was, what did you expect? Well, I expected a little bit of positivity. This gentleman here wanted OSHA to come after Camping World. I don't know the regulations the requirements for putting a roof on an RV, but I'm thinking it's not like a house, that you don't need cable harnesses or platforms around the house, or around the RV. This gentleman here tried to post some reviews for the Camping World in Strafford, but I couldn't get this page to open. I couldn't navigate through the link, but I also couldn't find the page anywhere and get to the reviews. All I know is I had a good experience. And actually, there were several people that said that this particular Camping World was a good one. So that was nice to hear. This person said, don't hold your breath. You may get it back before summer. And to that I said, how much would you be willing to bet that I'm going to have it back by the end of the week? And they said, no way. I came back later and I said, hey, I got it back. And again, they didn't want to engage in conversation after that. This is actually some sound advice that this person posted here. Double check the roof, get on top before you sign papers, before you leave the lot. That's just sound advice for, picking your vehicle up from any repair shop. Hope you have a place to keep it under a roof after you take possession. I'm sure you'll be back many times. And then the next person says, I predict a leaking roof as well. I'm full-time, so I am not going to keep this in a garage or under any kind of roof. And again, I've been through rain and ice several times after the visit and leading up to this video. I have no leaks. Everything good. Some people just can't stand a happy story. And unfortunately, that is the case with a lot of these Camping World folks. They just really want to be negative no matter what. Do people know that you can have insurance and warranty work done anywhere? It doesn't have to be at the same place as where you bought it? Of course I know that. And actually, I didn't buy the rig at Camping World. I just took it there because that's where my insurance company recommended. And actually, I had a very good vibe after talking to Carrie Stevens, the service manager, and talking to the technician as well. So here we are. I had a comment here, run away as fast as you can. And actually, I said, I can't run. It's already in the shop. Now, this was an interesting one. Godspeed, you're going to get a lot of grief from us and Camping World. Yeah, like, why are you going to give me grief for making a choice on where to take my business? And also that the work was done right. I don't know. I'd use Uncle Joe's third cousin's step something before I trusted Camping World. That was a good one. Okay, now let's move on to this one. This is the Camping World awful experience, as you can see. And this page is the one that I really thought we were going to see some flames on. All right, I said, listen, I've had 5 or 6 interactions with Camping World, various locations. Each one's been decent. I put them to the ultimate test here. Motorhome was finished in under a month. Work was done well. And they went above and beyond in some areas. This may have been an anomaly, but it illustrates a great point. As much as you hate to hear it, you simply cannot throw a blanket over every store and every employee of Camping World and say that they're all awful. Now, as you can see, I had a lot of heart reacts. And since I recorded this screenshot, I have had a lot more heart reacts. A lot of people have given this a positive response, actually, on the awful page. And this person said, I think you're on the wrong page, or are you just here to mock everybody? And I want to address that. No, I'm not here to mock everybody. I'm just giving an alternative viewpoint. F all Camping Worlds and that D-head Marcus. Robert, you are truly a unicorn. I really appreciate that, being called a unicorn. So I responded and I said, listen, I've had bad experience, I've had good, but we would be remiss if we just sat here and bashed on Camping World all day without giving credit where credit's due, right? I mean, that is a logical reaction when somebody gives you good service. The next response is, how much does Camping World pay for your positive reviews? He says, just take the time to read the negative reviews from everybody. And I said, I've read them all. I've watched all the YouTube videos. And he said, BS, there's no way you've watched them all. And bounce down the road, fruitcake is what he called me. So a nice productive discussion there. You can see here, people think that I work for Camping World, think I'm being paid. I was accused of being a relative of Marcus Lemonis. This person says, here's a guy that allegedly gets good service, and the first thing he does is search out people who didn't get good service and say they are overreacting. Now, that's not true, because I was on this page before when I got bad service, and I reached out to people and said I had bad service. Then when I got good service, I just came in and said, hey, look, I got good service. So no overreaction. It's just giving an opinion. Now, this person here, Carolyn, I did a bad job crossing out her name. She said, go buy a smaller version, get back with us. I had big, expensive stuff done on my motorhome, and so there's a lot of money shelled out. That's a good call, actually, and that's a good point that Carolyn makes, because had this been a smaller repair, a smaller unit, maybe I wouldn't have got it back sooner. I don't know. This was a big unit. We're full-timers, and this was a lot of money, big paying job for them from an insurance company. So maybe I did get some service bump ahead on that. I don't know. So this lady said, I've seen your posts on other sites as well. Are you for real? I said, I posted it in one place. Yes, I am for real. Posted on the Camping World Experience. Now, here I said, I feel like some of you would rather make up conspiracy theories than actually engage in conversation or actually read what I posted. You're so blinded by red mist, it scares me. Which Camping World do you work at? I said, my point exactly. Y'all freak out anytime anybody says something positive, right? It has to be planted. It's a fake profile, fake story. I said, I'm just shedding light on one little story. You don't need to break out torches and pitchforks. So the conspiracy theory groups in some of these pages, they can't take any type of positivity. It's just, you have to be a plant. This has to be a fake story. This has to be a paid endorsement for Camping World. Now, on another page, I stumbled across this. I suggest you get in touch with Robert Lackey. He just has all these wonderful experiences, and and then this person says, I think he worked there, and yeah, he's trying to drum up customers for his YouTube channel and his blog. And I said, listen, I actually do have a YouTube channel and a blog. Yes, feel free to go watch the videos, and you will see then that I am not all pro Camping World. So, again, you're trying to drum up business for your YouTube channel, your blog. I said, nailed it. I do have a YouTube channel, and I'm using all this content in my next video. I'm just giving my own account of what Camping World, my experience, and also explaining how they've earned such a poor reputation. And don't worry, there'll be plenty of bad in there. And as you'll see in this video, there's plenty of bad to be had. It is what it is. So I'm a neutral person. I just give credit where it's due, but I also don't overlook shortcomings. So in the end, when you look at these comments and you look at the reactions, what you find is that people are so geared into this negative mindset about Camping World, and they're long-term campers in most cases. They've purchased an RV, they've gone camping, they are full-time, they camp a lot, or they're full-timers or whatever. They have experience with Camping World, and then they have experiences with other stores. And overwhelmingly, they say that Camping World is just terrible. Now, the problem with that is they're not looking at the big picture. And so, for instance, a lot of people have problems with the RVs themselves. When you really delve into what these folks have an issue with, most of the time, it's the rig itself. It was built poorly. It fell apart as soon as I started using it. It's been in the shop for 3 months waiting on parts. I can't get any warranty work paid for. Keep in mind, that's not a Camping World issue. That's just the RV industry. The RV industry is screwed up right now. And they're just a middleman. They're a dealership. So they buy the rigs from Thor or Fleetwood, Grand Design, whatever, and then they sell them to the customer. And if that rig breaks, then Camping World tries to fix it. But if they can't get a part to fix it, or they can't get it paid by the manufacturer on a warranty job, that's not Camping World's fault. That's the manufacturer's fault. All right, so as you can see, there was some good exchange there, and there was a lot of things that were said that I did not post. But essentially what it came down to was people saying that I worked for Camping World, or I was related to Marcus Lemonis, or his best buddy, or whatever. They clearly didn't read anything else that I've posted. They didn't watch any of my videos, because you'll see that I kind of talk down on Camping World, specifically Marcus Lemonis, in my prior videos. And today, I'm going to elaborate even more on that. So putting these folks aside, let's talk about Marcus Lemonis. Now, Marcus Lemonis, he's an interesting character. He has a show called The Profit, in which he goes into businesses and that are typically struggling or have reached kind of a plateau, and he goes in and he invests in these businesses a lot of times, gives his opinion on how things should be run or what should be changed, and then he'll kind of partner up with the business owners a lot of times. And at that point, things go one of two directions. Either the people really buy in and Marcus sees that there's a return coming, and the relationship, you can see it start to blossom and things kind of go well. The other direction that it can go is that there's a miscommunication or a misunderstanding, or in some cases, Marcus is completely wrong about what needs to happen with the business, and he's just writing checks and complaining about everything until it reaches a head. And I think at that point, things start to go south. In fact, there's an article that I'm going to refer to here in which Marcus has, gone sideways with several businesses because of the prophet. Forbes magazine published this article, False Prophet, claiming that the prophet's Marcus Lemonis has preyed on and destroyed 50 small businesses. Now that's a pretty crazy accusation that, you got to have some foundation if you're going to go out on that limb. 50 small businesses destroyed by this one man. But when you start reading the article, it kind of opens your eyes a bit to some of the things that you kind of see happen on the show in real time. At the start of the article here, you'll see a group of more than 50 businesses have appeared on CNBC's reality show, The Prophet. They allege that Marcus Lemonis and the TV network use this series as a guise to defraud and ruin these businesses. It says Marcus Lemonis is a wolf in sheep's clothing. A false prophet uses fame and fortune to steal businesses from everyday Americans. All the while, he preys on businesses he purports to be saving. 51 companies have appeared on the show that have suffered a hellish nightmare or a pattern of humiliation, fraud, extortion, and other charges. Lemonis strategically and deliberately drowns these businesses in debt to him and his entities in order to foreclose on them and take their businesses to build his empire. And hey, you can see this on the show. You can see it happen on the show. Sometimes you'll see him just stroke checks, and you wonder, when are these folks going to be able to pay him back? At what point are they going to be able to pay him back? Now, Lemonis does talk, and when reached for comment, he didn't mince words because he doesn't. He says, this feels like a grand shakedown from people who are not entitled to anything. And every single business I've ever tried to help or made a grant to or made a loan to or an investment to specifically related to this show and the reality releases they signed, I've only ever put money into people's businesses and never once got any form of payment back, including expenses, interest, principal, anything. That's gotta be BS. I cannot believe that. There's just no way. CNBC, a person said no comment. But again, I watched the show the other day. I'm a regular viewer of The Prophet, and for better and for worse, and I watch it as an entrepreneur, and I can see these things happen. And sometimes the decisions that Lemonis makes, especially related to a business that he might know much about, it's just kind of, he just comes in and strong arms everybody and then uses the money to be able to do that. If you read here, this is a really damning portion of the article in which he basically dumps a bunch of money into a business and said if they want to back out of the deal, they can pay him back for the renovations. They can't afford that. So he says, okay, well, he's got all this debt into this business. You know what? He'll just take the company from you. He acquires the company because they couldn't afford to get out of it. The mob has this thing called a bust out. You owe them money, they take over your business, they put a lot of debt in it. Business is decimated, your credit is decimated. It's a version of bust out, what he's done. He did that to Nicholas, he did that to other companies too. So, not a good look for Marcus Lemonis. And, well, you're going to see here that it may not be as shocking as it seems. Beyond that, we have another issue with Marcus, and this relates more to the RV side of things. So when we talk about the RV industry, we have to talk about Gigi Stetler. Now, she is the CEO of RV Sales of Broward. She's brought a lawsuit against Marcus, and essentially what she says is that Lemonis made an offer to acquire her RV business, and she politely refused. In response, Lemonis and several others, including an equestrian businessman, Mark Bellissimo, initiated a series of actions intended to financially damage Stetler and her reputation. So some things happened based around this horse show event that she sponsored with her Broward RV. Marcus and Camping World came in there and strong-armed the equestrian show into kicking Gigi out, bringing Camping World in, and then subsequently trying to choke off her business. So I read a little bit about this. Actually, I read a lot about this situation, and then I found on YouTube the deposition of Marcus Lemonis in relation to this. I'm just going to play a few clips from that deposition here and let you make your own judgment on Marcus and his character.
Okay, I'm going to be here in the background.
Do you agree that Exhibit 2
Don't mind me
appears
too
to
much.
be a series of emails between yourself and Mr. Burton?
Sure.
And so it looks like the first email discusses Mr. Bellissimo actually sends an email both to you and Mr. Burton.
Now the yawn is something that you'll see anytime Marcus kind of has, it's his tell.
In terms of,
if he feels trapped,
sponsorship,
he'll yawn.
It doesn't.
RV Village?
It doesn't help jogging, no.
Anytime he's presented with papers and he looks down and he sees if he's anxious or if he sees something that he's going to have to wiggle out of, he does this fake yawn thing.
How did you first hear about the Winter Equestrian Festival itself? I know we had talked earlier about your company's sponsorship in it, but
this is another bit of a tell here. He
event?
drinks a lot. See, I don't remember, and then he hides behind the cup.
Are you familiar of any contracts between any of your companies and any companies owned by Mr. Bellissimo?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
Sure. Are there any contracts that you're aware of between any of your companies and Mr. Bellissimo's companies?
Today?
Yes.
Tomorrow.
Can you define contracts for me?
Could you define the meaning of the word
contracts,
is?
Any agreements between entities?
Objective form of the motion. I mean, there's a sponsorship, if that's what you're referring to.
That's the
Have
word.
you ever been involved in any other lawsuits other than this case?
Yeah.
But that you've never attended any other trials?
No, I've never been to a trial.
He looks just as surprised as I am, actually.
Have you ever attended a mediation before?
I can't remember.
This is kind of a series of things that normal people would remember coming up.
Have you personally ever been sued before? Have you ever appeared as a defendant?
Appeared?
Have you ever been named as a defendant personally?
Yes.
What type of case?
I can't recall.
Do you know where that case was?
I don't.
How recently was that case?
I don't know.
Do you know what happened with that case?
I don't know.
I just can't take him seriously here.
All right, and then it appears that if we go down the page, there's an original email from September 30th, 2009 by Mr. Bellissimo.
No
And it looks like
anxiety
you're
here.
one of the entities copied on it. What does that mean about where Mr. Bellissimo is saying that you didn't really care how the deal was structured?
Objective form of the question. I don't know what he meant.
Question as well.
Well, what type of deal were you all discussing in terms of an investment in a location?
I have no idea.
Would the location have likely been the campground?
I don't know.
Objection.
I don't know how he runs his business.
Why was the steeplechase so important for having the name out for Camping World?
Form of the question.
Objective form of the question.
I don't know what a steeplechase is.
Just can't.
All right. Now, in his email, Mr. Crum talks about an Alpine or a Grand Junction. Do you know what that do you have anything to support Mr. Serpilla's assertion in his email that she is hurting her business name and creating problems for many of your Wellington
Objective form of the
patrons?
question.
Form of the question.
You'd have to ask him. I didn't write this email.
Do you agree with Mr. Serpilla's?
It doesn't matter if I agree with him.
It does,
Do
though.
you?
It doesn't matter if I agree with him.
It does.
Form of the question.
Do you have knowledge of any facts to support Mr. Serpilla's assertions in this email?
Objective form of the question has an answer. I've answered this.
Well, I'm asking about any of the assertions in this email.
What's your question?
Do you have knowledge of any facts that support any of the assertions made by Mr. Serpilla?
These are his assertions. I can't speak to them. You have to ask him.
But I'm asking about your knowledge base in terms of do you personally have knowledge of any of the facts that Mr. Serpilla is asserting.
My knowledge doesn't say that confirm or deny whether any of this happened.
Much like the U.S. government.
Would you agree with me that any issues that were raised by Mr. Serpilla were things that you really didn't, that Camping World really didn't even want to be having to deal with, as evidenced in your email that starts this chain on this page?
I don't know what the email is before that, so I can't speak to it.
Yeah, wiggled out of that one, didn't you? Oh, wait. Oh, jeez. That's definitely going to be the email that connects to the top of this, isn't it? Yeah, that's... okay.
All right, so
Next move.
Going back then to...
I hope he doesn't get Article
Exhibit
7.
number 7.
Oh,
it looks
jeez.
like that is a connection of the emails.
There's the email connection. Yep. Now what, Marcus?
So when you said in the email, why are we having to deal with this, you were referring to any complaints that dealt with Ms. Stetler?
Form. Seems that way.
And was the reason is because, well, what was the reason for you making that assertion, or why are we having to deal with this?
Well, I'm obviously responding to the email below it.
Oof.
What was the context of you saying, why are we having to deal with this?
The email that's below it.
I love how he just stops
in
talking.
terms of the email below
that's gonna
it,
fix it.
was it a situation where you were responding as if you didn't want to have to deal with what was being raised in the email below?
Form of the question.
Wouldn't that be self-explanatory too? Why are we having to deal with this? It's pretty self-explanatory.
Well, people can use that phrase, why are we having to deal with this, in different using different meanings. Please help explain what your state was when you said, why are we having
I
to deal with
have
this?
no idea. It
Form of the
was like 9 years, 8 years ago, 7 years ago.
6 years ago, 5 years ago, 6 months ago.
And how did you become aware that there was a prior relationship between RV sales of Broward and the Winter Equestrian Festival?
I don't remember how I heard about it.
There's the fake yawn again. Get some crud on me.
Now, have you ever been involved with assisting owners of RV businesses before across the country?
Check the form of the question.
No, I don't assist anybody.
Right.
Have you ever entered into any partnerships with any other RV companies in the state of across the country?
No, I don't enter into partnerships in our
Nope.
business.
Do you enter into any type of relationship with any other RV companies?
Check the form of the question.
I don't know
Check
what
to the form of the
you mean by
question.
relationship.
Yeah, I don't know what a relationship
Well, I
is.
understand that you don't enter into partnerships. You don't assist these other companies. Are you ever involved in acquiring other RV companies?
Yes.
Yeah, that I can do. Acquire. Yeah. Okay.
I need to take a bathroom break real quick.
Yeah, we all do,
Okay,
Marcus.
sounds good.
Yeah.
We are going.
I mean, I don't know about you. My takeaway from those videos was that Marcus is a little bit slimy. Very obvious to me that Marcus knew what was going on with that situation, and he strong-armed Gigi's business. And that leads us to our next situation, our next point of this video, and that is the business practices of Camping World as a whole. And so when you talk about Camping World, you talk about a huge conglomerate that has grown a ton over the years. In fact, the place that we bought this rig from, we had very, very high praise for. An amazing place. They just sold to Camping World last year, and I was just crushed because I know that business was so great, and they're just going to slide with Camping World at the helm. Because here's what happens: it's a numbers game with Camping World. They buy anybody that they can, and then they they make it just a regular store that numbers become the dominant factor in. And so that really becomes the culture of that store. Instead of focusing on customer service, instead of focusing on being something unique or different or thinking outside the box, you're very strictly put into a box by the corporate management at Camping World. And we don't look at customer service, we don't look at a customer-centric culture, in that case. We look at numbers. So when you have such a big company in which the CEO says, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make you happy. If you're not happy, I'm not happy. Here's my phone number, here's my email, give me a call anytime. These signs are on the doors when you walk into any Camping World, right? Well, that gentleman right there, Marcus Lemonis, says if you're not happy, I'm not happy, you call me. But guess what? I have called Marcus Lemonis, I have emailed Marcus Lemonis, never have I gotten a response. In those emails that I wrote to Marcus, I offered some very insightful information and even offered to help the business and did not get any response. That's frustrating. And at that point, let me just say, when Marcus didn't respond to me, I reached out to the general manager of a store, got no response. So then I reached out to a service manager and got no response. At multiple points of contact, by the way, phone, email, no response from anybody. So my point here is the culture starts at the top. So you have a CEO that's saying, if you're not happy, I'm not happy, you can call me anytime, email me, here's my personal stuff. And then you do that and he doesn't get back to you. That sets the tone for everybody below him. So when I call the general manager and he doesn't get back to me, that's not a surprise because his boss probably doesn't get back to him. When I call the service manager and he doesn't contact me back, not a surprise because his boss, the GM, probably doesn't get back to him on a timely basis. Culture starts at the top. And it's very, very hard to instill a corporate culture based on customer service in the first place. But when you have a CEO that's in the public eye, that portrays himself to be something that he apparently is not, that's a real problem because it is it's right in front of everybody. You can turn on the TV and see it. So I'm going to blame Marcus for the overall culture of the store. And then when we look back at the amount of stores, the sheer number of business that is taking place under the Camping World umbrella, it's very difficult to look at anything other than numbers. So what happens is you have a CEO who is a businessman. First and foremost, Marcus is here for the buck, and we have to respect that, okay? But Marcus says these are the numbers we have to hit, all right? We acquired this store now in this city, so we expect these numbers to grow by X number of percentage. We need to sell this many units or get this percentage of gross profit on each unit sold if we stay at the same amount of sales. So then the general manager says, okay, sales managers, service managers, this is what we have to do for sales. Let's go. Because we have to report to Camping World now. The big bosses, the big guys, the big suits at Camping World. It's not a mom and pop store anymore. We got big suits in charge. So then there's pressure on everybody to hit numbers. And what you see then is from the service side, you're trying to hit a home run with your service tickets. You're not trying to take care of the person so much and say, hey, you know what, this repair can wait until next season, come back and see us, let's do these things for now. It gets you down the road. Instead, you're saying, let's do everything right now. Let's do all the preventative, let's do all the repairs, all the maintenance, everything. Let's get it all done today and hit that home run. And you might suck all the money out of their pocketbook, but it doesn't matter. You're skinning the sheep for short-term gain, okay? On the sales side, go to sell a unit, you're trying to hit a home run. You want to sell that unit for as much money as you possibly can, but you also want to sell them the extended warranty, the gap coverage, the fabric protection, the undercoating, everything that goes along with that thing as an upsell. Every condiment that you could possibly put on that sale, you're trying to do that in the finance office. And so it becomes a numbers game. You care less and less about the customer perception and you move on. The reason Camping World is so successful is not repeat business. They're not repeat business. It's convenience and it is name recognition. And so what you have is you start to see Camping World at NASCAR and baseball, and you see these commercials and billboards everywhere. Everywhere you turn, there's a Camping World. I will say that I'm a Camping World customer because I know no matter where I go in the United States, there is a Camping World somewhere along my route, in the city I'm staying in, whatever the case may be. I can usually park in their lot and sleep overnight if I have to. Sometimes there's a dump station there for free. You know, there are perks to just stopping at Camping Worlds as a full-time RVer. And then I know they have everything I need inside the store. And guess what? If I buy something and I go halfway across the United States and that thing isn't working anymore, I can return it to another Camping World in a different state and get it taken care of. There's also the Good Sam program, which, by the way, Marcus Lemonis, it's his deal. Good Sam ties right into Camping World, ties right into everything. and it kind of shoehorns you into using Camping World because you get this discount based on being a Good Sam member, and so you get this perceived value going to Camping World. So that's how they get their repeat customers. But the new customers come along because there's just one on every corner. It's the most recognizable name. If you're going to buy your first RV or accessories or get service or whatever, Camping World is probably the first name that comes to mind. And that's only because you see it everywhere. So it's really a numbers game for Camping World. They don't care about the customer. They don't care. Most of them. Okay, as a whole, conglomerate, they don't care. Now, let's talk about the individual stores, because like I've said in my previous videos, maybe you haven't watched those yet, maybe you have, there are outliers on one end of the spectrum and the other. You have the really, really bad Camping World stores, and you have the really, really good Camping World stores. Within the really, really bad stores, you have probably sprinkled about, you have a good person here or there that's really willing to help you and go the extra mile. Within the good stores, I'm sure you have a bad apple here or there. This is just the nature of a business. Any store that you walk into, be it a mom and pop store or a huge Walmart or Sam's Club or whatever, or Camping World, you're gonna have outliers on each end of the spectrum. So again, you can't just throw an umbrella over every Camping World store, especially every employee, and just say that they're all bad. They're just not. Honestly, me spending my money, I will not buy an RV from Camping World. I just won't do it. I think that the mom and pop stores do care more about your business and about the overall experience and the rigs themselves. We bought this rig again at a mom and pop store that is now a Camping World, and we got really great service. The coach was clean, it was immaculate, and anything that we had that was wrong with it was addressed before we even left the lot. They did a lot of things to it over the course of a day before we drove off with it. That's not a type of experience I feel I would get with Camping World. And I can tell you again, having tried to buy one at Camping World in Oklahoma City, that experience was not great at all. So I've got firsthand experience. I won't go shopping for an RV at Camping World. Will I continue to buy parts and accessories at Camping World? Yes, for the reasons I just explained. You know, there's one on every corner, there's one in every state. Usually every big city that we pass through, there's a Camping World. So I know I can get my stuff taken care of there. Will I continue to get service at Camping World? Yes, I will at the Strafford, Missouri location. That much I will say. I've had good and bad experiences at the Oklahoma City store. I've had bad experiences only at the Wichita store, but Strafford, Missouri, Carrie and Cammie and the rest of the folks there did an amazing job, and so I will return to them for service. They're the outlier on the good side. The Wichita store over on the bad side. So now let's go ahead and wrap this thing up with the answer to the question, does Camping World suck? Yeah, Camping World sucks. As a whole, the corporation is just not great. It starts at the top. The CEO, Marcus Lemonis, not a great guy by my accounts and what I've read, all the research I've done, and that sort of thing. Camping World's not a great entity. Does that mean you should not do business with Camping World? No, absolutely not. You do business with Camping World if it's convenient for you and if it suits you, as it does me. I mean, that's the bottom line. You have to do what's best for you. However, anytime that I can get service or buy a new rig from a mom and pop store, I will definitely go that route. So hopefully this video series was helpful for you, and maybe, you know, let me know in the comments if this answer, the final conclusion to this series, shocks you or not. I don't know what direction you saw it going, but I will tell you, I have wavered back and forth on this whole thing, you know, from video 1 to video 2 to video 3, and now this one, before I made my conclusion. A ton of research, a ton of reading, a lot of video watching, and I finally came to this conclusion. Yeah, Camping World isn't great. So anyway, let me know in the comments what you think. What are your opinions about Camping World? Love to get your feedback. So thank you everybody for watching this series. Make sure again you subscribe, click the bell for notifications, because we've got more cool content coming out. We got how-to videos, we have some product reviews, and also some videos about our travels as we get our 2022 tour underway. It's going to be a lot of fun this year. So thank you everybody for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.